o'clock, and I definitely wanted to welcome you all. Thank you for joining me today. I'll be talking about the rules, duties, and basically all the information you need to know and be trained on to be club treasurer for your respective club. So, I'm happy to dive right into it. Just wanted to note down that if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, you can ask me through the Q&A option or the chat box. If they're more general questions, our moderator, Lieutenant Governor, Division 23, Lieutenant Governor Johanna Tam, which is my home division, will be happy to answer more of the general questions that you have. But of course, I'll be detailing a lot of aspects about the role of treasurer, such as dues, budgeting, everything like that. So please leave your questions in the Q&A option, and I'll be happy to answer them at the end of this presentation. One thing to also note is that these questions also have to be Key Club appropriate and Key Club related. So that's something that I did want to relay to you all, and I'm sure you all were aware of that for sure. But without further ado, let's get started. So you all are joining me today to learn about the treasurer position. So first and foremost, let me outline what the monthly responsibilities are to be treasurer for your club. So first and foremost, you should always attend club meetings. You should withhold and update your financial reports, as well as create financial reports, as well as obtain them from your school bookkeeper. You should make sure that you should manage your club's bank accounts. That is also done through your school administration, or however way you have the access to your bank account. Your club's bank account, of course, that'll be through communication with your club faculty advisor or your financial administrator at your school. And more so into the internal roles of being treasurer, you need to make sure that you create and update or maintain a monthly budget. And of course, you must make sure that you collect dues from all your members. Again, communicating with your school bookkeeper or financial administrator is very, very important. And lastly, initiating fundraising activities is also a part of your role that you'll be responsible for every single month and really throughout the whole year. So that really goes into annual responsibilities to put into a more broad view. So of course, you want to make sure that you do prepare a budget for the Key Club year. I will be showing you sample budgets and resources and how you can access budgeting materials online in our Key Club website. So rest assured that will be relayed to you. We'll be talking about how to coordinate the dues process as well as the dues procedure. When you collect dues, how does that work? If you're new to this position, you may not know exactly how to pay dues to international. And of course, throughout the whole year, you do want to train the potential treasurer-elect, either that's throughout the year or at the end of the year, when he or she is elected in February. Along with the annual responsibilities is taking account into your club's bylaws, which contain important information on what a club can and cannot do. And this has to do with dues amounts, committee assignments, appointed positions, and the election process. And if you want to gain more additional color about about bylaws, a standard form can be found on the link provided on the screen here. And of course, I did want to note that this presentation and a recording of this workshop will be posted on the Florida Key Club website. So if you do need to refer to any of these links or information that will be relaying throughout this presentation, rest assured that will be available for you. So now let's talk about dues. So as you may or may not know, total dues for Florida Key Club and International is $13. So $7 goes towards Key Club International and $6 goes towards the Florida district. So that becomes a total of $13 plus additional club dues that you may add into your overall club dues that you'll be asking all your members to pay. A typical club charges anywhere from $20 to $25, which normally includes a t-shirt. But however, I strongly suggest that due to COVID-19, many schools, many family members, many key clubbers many prospective and potential key clubbers may be going through certain financial circumstances throughout this whole year. So my biggest and strongest suggestion in order to maintain your key club members and gain more key club members is to keep the dues amount to the minimum of $13 or however way you see fit. So that being said, I talked about how $7 goes towards international and $6 goes towards the district. So let me outline where that dues goes towards. So what are dues used for? For the district part of the dues, they account for Florida Key Club operations, the Florida Opportunity Fund, which is the service grant that we provide for your service projects, the endowment, which is how we fund for scholarships at the end of your school year. And we do provide scholarships every single year. More than 10 scholarships are available to you. Zone expenses and training for district board members. In terms of on the international side, international dues account for promotional materials, the Youth Opportunity Fund, which is international grant for your service projects, ICON, which is the international convention, awards, pin and member cards. When you become a Key Club member, you do receive a member card, and the Key Club magazine. So these are all the aspects that your $13 dues goes towards throughout the whole year. So when are dues due? So the early bird deadline is November 1st, 2020, and the regular dues deadline is by December 1st. However, if you are planning to pay your club dues by the November 1st deadline, you must send your invoice in by October 10th. So many of you may be wondering, how can I manage to do that by October 10th? I will provide you a guide on how you can do that, as well as outline the procedure of how to pay dues. What is an invoice? What are you talking about? And I know these questions might be appearing in your head right now, especially if you're new to the treasurer position. So I'll be happy to explain that shortly. So in terms of the guide to paying early bird dues, I'm aware that many of you have already started school in mid-August or late August. So first and foremost, I'm sure many of you have already held your first meeting and informed members about requirements, member requirements, and about dues, of course. And then going from there, throughout the whole month of September, particularly the first and the second week, you want to remind your potential members about the application deadline. So that really is around this time. Right now, we're in the second to third week of September. So you hopefully, or if you do have a second meeting coming up, you do want to collect applications and dues around this time. So reaching the fourth week of September, you want to make sure that you do finalize your club roster. And once you do finalize the club roster, this is where you update the Membership Update Center. And the Membership Update Center is basically the standardized system that all key clubs use in terms of inputting their members into the system so that you can generate an invoice and pay dues to international. So you want to update the Membership Update Center by inputting your existing members and new members. And by October 4th, it'll be a great rule of thumb to generate the Membership Update Center invoice that you will pay to international. In terms of payment and how to access the Membership Update Center, that will be detailed later on in this presentation, as I elaborated before. So after you have generated your invoice, you do want to contact your school bookkeeper. This really does also depend on most of your schools, how finances work, but definitely contact your school bookkeeper or your financial administrator about this invoice so that they can use that invoice to process the check. And hopefully there's a 3 to 4 day turnaround time in regard to getting the check. So then that's when on October 10th, you do want to send it over to Key Club International. After doing so, you do want to follow up with your bookkeeper to see if the check has been cleared. And that means, has the check amount been paid to Key Club International? So you do want to make sure that you check on that around October 15th. and to sort of finalize the whole guide towards the early bird dues process by November 1st. That is the final deadline for early bird dues. So of course, if you mail it out on October 10th, it will most likely come before the November 1st deadline. And this really does, in fact, give you roughly 20 days for the check to get to Key Club International. In more extreme circumstances, I'm sure that many of you guys are already on this path, on this timeline. You may be ahead of the timeline, or if you're behind the timeline, you can definitely use this as a reference to create your own timeline on how to get early bird dues rolling. And of course, in many circumstances, you can work out a solution to get the check to Key Club International as fast as possible. And just keep in mind that this is for early bird dues. Early bird dues is November 1st, and in circumstances that members cannot pay for dues by the early bird deadline, they can of course pay for dues at the regular bird deadline of December 1st if they need additional time, or if your club in general needs additional time. So now that we covered the guide and the timeline for how you can get early bird deadlines in for your members, you may be wondering, what is the procedure to pay dues? So first and foremost, you go to floridakeyclub.org/dues. And when you go on the website, there will be an option called Membership Update Center. So you click on that. And this can also be accessed at www.members.kiwanis.org/sign-in. So of course, you just click on the Membership Update Center. After you click on the Membership Update Center, you're going to have to log into the Membership Update Center with your faculty advisor's credentials. So one thing I do want to note is that it is generally questioned whether the club pays for the dues or if individual members pay for dues. As of now, the club has to pay for dues for all the members in your club. So there really is only one login per Key Club in the district. So make sure that you contact maybe the previous year treasurer or the faculty advisor in order to get your login credentials to get into the Membership Update Center. So after you log into the Membership Update Center, there are a couple of things that you do need to keep in mind in terms of how you can input all your members into the system. So the following instructions on the screen would be to update the club advisor information. This is in case you have a new Key Club advisor. If you don't, then the club advisor information will stay the same. And one thing that is very, very important is that you do need to delete the members who are no longer a part of your club. So an example of this are graduated seniors. You don't want to pay dues for people who are not even in your school anymore. And of course, you want to make sure that based on your current roster relative to last year's roster, if you do have people that are not in Key Club anymore, you want to make sure that you do delete them out of your list. And of course, you do want to update the information for existing members. And lastly, you want to add all the new members that you have. So definitely that's something you do need to keep in mind. And one note that I do have to give in terms of inputting the members into the system, there are two main things that are required in inputting members into the system, and that is their email address and their expected year of graduation. That is because their email address is our way of communication with them, and the expected year of graduation will sort of help you outline which members in the coming years are not in your school anymore or are still in your school. So make sure that if you do have your member applications going in or going out, you make sure that you have your email address on the form as well as the expected year of graduation. So that being said, after you've logged in and updated all that information, you do want to make sure that all the information is completed properly. And once you do, there will be an option to generate an invoice. So generate an invoice by clicking Roster Complete, Print Invoice. And you do want to print it out because you're most likely going to mail it. So ensure that the invoice is printed out correctly. So the next procedure is basically the final procedure in the dues process, and that is either mailing a check or money order with the copy of the invoice to the following address. So this address is Key Club International, P.O. Box 6069, Department 123 in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'll leave this up for you to either take a picture, or if you do want to note this down, because this address is really important for you to pay dues. So again, in order to pay dues, you need to generate that invoice and mail that invoice in with the check that you got from your bookkeeper that was processed by your financial administrator or bookkeeper, or a money order. So that being said, because there's only outline check and money order, cash is not an option if you're wondering. Cash normally does not get mailed in, and it's also it's also a safety issue. A financial issue, so you do want to make sure that you mail in a check or a money order. So there also is an option to pay by credit card only after you generate the invoice. So when you generate the invoice, there'll be an option to pay by credit card, but I'm aware that because it is coming from your clubs, you do need to get that through your school financial administrator or bookkeeper. So in all likelihood, you will be mailing in a check or money order. But if your bookkeeper is open and in fact thinks it's easier to pay through credit card on behalf of your club, definitely that is an option. But you would have to do that like right in front of your bookkeeper, since right when you generate the invoice, the credit card option will be available to you. It won't be available after that. So this address is really important in case you haven't noted it down. And again, this presentation and the recording of this webinar will be available after this presentation. So there's really two more steps after you pay for your dues and you generate your invoice. So these are really just things that you just have to note down. So after generating and printing the invoice page will be reset to 0 so that new members can be added throughout the year. So you may be, wondering, I generated an invoice for all the people who's going to pay early bird dues, but there's a lot of prospective Key Club members that will pay by the December 1st deadline, the regular deadline. So yeah, this means that you can, if you have new paid members and new members coming in, you really just have to repeat the procedure detailed before. So let's say by November 1st, you have 100 members, you generate the invoice, you send that check in, and then let's say by December 1st, you have another 100 members, or let's say another 120 members. You just repeat the process that I just detailed in the slides prior. So lastly, because you will be mailing in a check, you may be wondering, how do I know if this has been processed and that now my club is registered and is in good standing? So what you will do is that you do want to follow up with me, the district treasurer, and the finance administrator, Mr. Bob Parton, which his information will be given on in the last slide of this presentation, on the status of your dues payment sent to Key Club International. So I hope those procedures were clear and helpful for you. So just to give a broad summary of what just went down in the dues process, first and foremost, the membership update center is open. You can pay for dues now. You would have to visit floridakeyclub.org/dues, and you access the membership update center by logging on with your advisor's information. Make sure to update the membership list with the new members, retain the existing members, and delete the old members or students that are not members anymore. And of course, print out the invoice and give it to your bookkeeper to process a check or pay with a credit card if that option is appealing to you. So now that we talked about the dues process, in the beginning of this presentation, I talked about budgeting. So I definitely did want to outline what the aspect of budgeting is. And this budgeting is really, really important because as treasurer, you want to make sure that your income is income as in the money that you have coming in is way more than the expenses that you're going to have every single month, especially with service projects. So, you may be wondering, what is a budget? A budget is basically a plan of how you're going to spend the money that you're going to have throughout that month relative to the expected expenses you're going to have. So you may be wondering, why is it important to plan? Well, it's important to plan because you don't want to make sure that you're at a negative loss. Especially being a part of Key Club, every single money that you have, every single piece of money that you have coming in, either through the additional amount that you add to your dues or from fundraising, you want to make sure that all of that money goes into service projects. So that being said, what are the components of a budget? Definitely the income and the expenses. So if you do want to gain additional color on what a budget looks like, here is the income portion of the budget. So this is a sample budget of Key Club of Awesome High School. And as you can see, there's a total dues amount of $20 per member. So that is noted down in a sort of Excel sheet. And everything here is also broken down in terms of fundraising. If you had a car wash, you want to note down that, what is it, how much money did you receive every single month? And over here, you can see that there's 8 times $200 each. Well, a budget is what's expected. So you're expecting that throughout the year, you'll probably have 8 car washes and maybe generate $200 each. Or if you have a bake sale over here, you'll generate, $250 from each bake sale that you'll have throughout the year. So a budget is also more so of a guideline and a plan for what you need to accomplish in terms of fundraising events. And it also motivates you to make sure that you do have enough income or enough money coming in so that it's over the money coming out. So definitely you guys can take a picture of this, or of course, this will be available to you. So here's an example of the expense portion of the budget. Definitely for candy sales, you're gonna have to pay. If you were gonna have candy sales, you're gonna have to pay for those candy boxes, and that'll be a part of your expenses. Of course, dues, the money that you have coming in will directly go out to international when you pay for both district and international dues, T-shirts, and every single aspect that. Whatever thing that you think that will be an expense throughout the year, you want to make sure to note it down. This can definitely be a reference point for you. So you can, of course, feel free to take a picture. But again, budgets are really up to your circumstances, your club circumstances, and what you think is fit. It's very possible that you go over budget or under budget, but of course, that's why you want to make sure that you have a yearly budget and kind of work on a monthly budget every single time from there. So that being said, the majority of these budgets, oh, my slide. I apologize for that. Something just happened with my slides. But now that we talked about budgeting and all the components that are in budgets, which are incomes and expenses, one major source of income for your club will be fundraising. So, why do we fundraise? We want to fundraise for Key Club activities and nonprofit organizations. Many people fundraise to lower their decon cost and icon cost throughout the whole year. And even the Eliminate project, the trick or treat for UNICEF, which will be happening, shortly in this month and next month. So, I kind of posed a question to you, and also think about this question to yourself. What projects have you done in your clubs already? Or what are some projects that you're planning to do in terms of fundraising? So definitely keep that in mind. It's really important to fundraise because of Key Club activities and all the different organizations that is on our Key Club website. So, I can do a whole presentation in telling you all the different ways you can fundraise, but of course, with our time constraint and the purpose of this presentation being more so, outlining your duties and responsibilities. If you do want to find fundraising resources, of course, I am a resource for you. You can always contact me at treasurer@floridakeyclub.org. But, in addition to that, Florida Key Club also has resources for you as well. If you go to floridakeyclub.org in the education tab and then the club dues and finances tab, you will be able to access resources. Also, Key Club International has resources for you on how to fundraise. If you go to keyclub.org and in the search bar, you enter fundraising projects, you will be able to find many different ways you can fundraise. And along with the resources the district and international and myself, in addition to all those resources mentioned, you also have your sponsoring Kiwanis Club and maybe their Kiwanis treasurer. And you also have your advisors, teachers, parents. Really anyone can be a resource for you when it comes to fundraising. Fundraising just stems from your own research, and it really just stems from creativity. Especially with the the Key Club in Quarantine guide that has been released to the district. There is a whole section on fundraising in quarantine. I know given COVID-19, there's a huge obstacle for many of your clubs in terms of how to fundraise and how to have service projects in general. So definitely use that as a resource for you as well. So in terms of overall treasurer resources, you can also go to floridakeyclub.org, and that is where you can go to the education tab and then club officer resources, and then you would have to navigate to club treasurer. So in order to access that more directly, you can go to floridakeyclub.org/treasurer-resources. And in this resource tab, you can find many additional info on duties, dues, and the Membership Update Center, budgeting, fundraising, and many more. So I know in the beginning, when I talked about dues, I mentioned the Florida Opportunity Fund. And this is a committee that I chair on and something that I really advocate throughout the whole district. So to give you additional color on what the Florida Opportunity Fund is, or FLOF for short, it is a grant for service projects throughout the whole Florida district. So if you do want additional information on how to apply for FLOF, what are the certain requirements and things you need to keep in mind, definitely visit www.floridakeyclub.org/FLOF. If you also follow our Key Club Instagram, there's also a post that outlines all the requirements and procedures to apply for FLOF. So definitely use that at your disposal. You can download and complete the application, follow the instructions, fill it out, and the applications need to be received by, for some reason the date did not show up, but the applications really just need to be received by the end of the year. The applications span from October 1st through June 1st. So just make sure that when you do turn in your FLOF applications, the service projects that you do have in mind need to be after October 1st. So it really is just on an ongoing basis. There's really just a rolling admissions when it comes to FLOF applications, but applications really can span from October 1st to June 1st. And the review of FLOF applications start October 1st. So that means that if you do have a service project in mind, make sure that the date for that service project is after October 1st. So after talking about FLOF, there's also YOF, which is a Youth Opportunities Fund, and that is the international version of FLOF. So the international grant can also be located on keyclub.org/youth-opportunities-fund, and the instructions on how to fill that out and to apply is also detailed there as well. So that really does cover a lot of the things you need to keep in mind, a lot of the responsibilities, a lot of the duties that you're going to have as treasurer throughout this whole year. So, one thing you also want to make sure, and maybe this thing can really motivate you to be on top of yourself as treasurer, is the Distinguished Treasurer Award that we give as a part of the district. So some requirements to get the Distinguished Treasurer Award is complete a minimum of 75 hours of service. So of course, make sure you attend all your service projects. Given that you're an officer and you're a treasurer, you have a pretty big role within your club. It is definitely a great rule of thumb that you attend all the service projects that you have. Definitely as treasurer, you do want to make sure that you do submit club dues. Make sure that your club is registered and in good standing. You want to make sure that you attend club meetings and DCMs, coordinate and participate in all club or district fundraising activities, as well as initiate them, create them, and also relay different fundraising activities that other clubs can also use. That's something that you can do as well. And of course, you also want to be a part of more divisional and district conferences as well, such as the Key Club Kickoff Conference that you might have in your zone, Spring Zone Rally, which is where we elect potential candidates for higher office, and of course, DCON. So overall, you really just want to participate with member recruitment and just keep all of these aspects in your mind if you are interested in achieving and getting and qualifying for the Distinguished Treasurer Award. So lastly, I know that was a pretty detailed presentation. I do want to say that this presentation will be available online, but if you do have any questions, I did want to relay some contact information that you can contact us for if you have any questions or concerns. So you can always email me at treasurer@floridakeyclub.org. You can email the finance administrator as well, adminbob@floridakeyclub.org as well, the FLOF committee at flof@floridakeyclub.org, and as well as the endowment committee. We talked about how the endowment committee gives off scholarships. So if you're interested in funding for the endowment committee, you can also email them as well. So, that's basically it for the whole presentation. So now, as I mentioned before, I really do want to spend a good amount of time throughout this hour that I answer your questions directly, definitely through the Q&A option, as well as the chat box that is open for you. So before we move on into questionings, every single attendee in this call, make sure that you do sign in using this QR code. So you can either use your phone by scanning this QR code through your camera app if you have iPhone, or any other app that you have that can direct you to the link that the QR code will direct you to. But if you cannot access the sign-in sheet through the QR code, you can also sign in using the link provided on the screen. And I'm sure this link was also provided in the chat. So just right now, I just put in the chat in case this QR code is not accessible to you. But that being said, thank you all for joining me. And I did want to take this time to answer any questions that you may have. So, but of course, just keep in mind that you all are the best treasurers and that you will fulfill your responsibilities throughout the whole end. But now I'm really just opening the floor to you all. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask it. All right, so the first question that we have is from Sierra, and she's asking, can you go over on how to do an invoice more? Yes, definitely. So in order to know how to do an invoice, it was kind of detailed in this presentation. I'll be happy to kind of briefly go over it. But really the first and foremost thing is that you do want to access the Membership Update Center. And after going through the Membership Update Center, you do want to make sure that you have your Key Club faculty credentials. Once you log in, you want to make sure that you update everything. So meaning your club advisory information, your members, delete members who are not present anymore. Make sure that you update new members and existing members, and make sure that you do acquire email addresses and expected year graduation from all your paid members. So once you do that and you generate all the members who have been inputted, that's how you're going to generate the invoice. So once you do that, there will be an option where it says complete roster print invoice. And once you print that invoice, you'll mail that in with the check. That's going to the check, which the amount on the check is going to be matched with your invoice. And that's how you send it into Key Club International with this address over here. So I hope that answered your question, if that made sense. All right, so what are the benefits of early bird dues? That's a great question. So the benefits of early bird dues is that you do qualify for an award at DCON. And in addition to that, it really just keeps your club in pace and making sure that you have all your members paying the dues to international. But I can, if you want, I can kind of outline all the early bird dues and all the benefits of it if you email me directly as well. I want to make sure that all the benefits are outlined to you. But really, I know that there's an award that you can earn from early bird dues, and overall, it just keeps you more organized as well. Another question is the invoice still done when it's hard to get members in because of COVID? So I'm aware that, given COVID, it's really hard for some clubs to get in members. But yes, the invoice is done regardless. In fact, you can have many different invoices, given that there may be gaps in between how many members come in at certain periods of time. So for example, let's say you start a key club and you only have 10 to 15 members, and there's not that many members afterwards that are getting paid dues in. So you can still generate the invoice for those members. Now that being said, if you get more members, you can generate an invoice, again doing all the procedures that was outlined in this presentation. But yeah, like the invoice is still done the same exact way. And in terms of getting members in because of COVID, there's many different ways that you can recruit more members, and also many different ways that you can advocate Key Club throughout your whole school. And that is also detailed in the many resources that we have on our website, as well as the Key Club and Quarantine Guide. All right, so oh, okay, someone asked, will DCON be going on this year? If so, it is over Zoom or in person. And will treasurers whose borders are closed still qualify for the Distinguished Treasurer Award or no? So you answer your first question, will DCON be going on this year? Really, as much as you're confused about it, the district itself, we're not 100% sure. We're hoping that there will be DCON this year. I do have to fact check on that question. So definitely, if you do want to seek clarification on that question, please make sure that you email me so I can give you a more structured response. But if DCON is going to happen this year, will it be over Zoom or in person? Really, I do not know. That's really depending on what the situation is in the coming months, that information will be relayed out in the district. Cool. One question is that in a normal year, why would a club raise their dues? What else can a club raise dues for? And are there specific guidelines to raise dues? So what I'm assuming what you mean by that is, the dues amount is $13 and raising the dues amount to maybe $20 or $25. So really that just depends to your club. You can raise your dues maybe because you want to have a Key Club t-shirt that normally costs money. So dues are really up to you. What else can our else can our club raise dues for? Some people, they raise their dues amount so that DCON is a little bit little bit cheaper for everyone. People raise dues for going, of course, for t-shirts. But really, there's no specific guidelines to raise dues. Really, your dues amount just has to meet the minimum of $13. So $13 comes to us for each individual member, but the remaining amount is really up to you and how you want to allocate that. So there really isn't any specific guidelines to raise dues. The only guideline that is posed on you when it comes to dues is that you have to make sure that you are paying $13. You're collecting $13 from every single member. Oh, my mouse. Okay. Someone asked, okay, so what are dues used for on the international and district level? I did cover that right here. So here it is. So district dues are accounted for in Florida Key Club operations. So these are just the overall operations of Florida Key Club, including, you know, the website, all the resources that we give to you, the Florida Opportunity Fund, scholarships, zone expenses, and training for board members. So that's on the district level. So I do want to say that the money that you pay to us really does get paid back to you, and that is through mainly the Florida Opportunity Fund and scholarships. If you apply for, you know, if you apply for FLOF and you meet the requirements and you do what is told, then you will be getting the service money that, you know, that is entitled to you as well. And for scholarships, we offer that every single year for seniors going off to college. So really the dues amount that you're paying out will really be paid back through these sources. So that's more so on the district level. Onto international level, your portion of the dues goes towards promotional materials that they maintain. Of course, the Youth Opportunity Fund, which is the international version of the Florida Opportunity Fund. So that really does get paid back to you as well. And of course, just icon awards, the membership cards that you received, as well as the Key Club magazine. And these are all materials that really just help you in your club to make sure that you expand your impact when it comes to service. I hope that answered your question. Someone asked, can you give us more advice on holding online fundraisers? Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of different ways that you can hold online fundraisers, and that really is outlined in the Key Club and Quarantine Guide. In the Key Club and Quarantine Guide, which has been relayed throughout the whole district, the Key Club and Quarantine Guide does have different activities that you can do virtually. On the top of my head, one activity that you can do is doing a virtual game night within your club or within your community. One is maybe a virtual meditation night. If you have apps called Calm, if you have meditation apps like Calm or Headspace, you can have that app be a moderator for everyone on the Zoom call to meditate together. And of course, the way you'll raise money from that is by having a registration fee. You can have a movie night. You can also have a virtual TED Talk series where maybe your friends, people in your community, maybe teachers, faculty advisors, you can host a TED Talk event, which can also require a registration fee. And there are also just many different ways that you can hold online fundraising. That is detailed on our website and through the Key Club and Quarantine Guide. So rest assured, those options are available to you. All right, so someone asked, what are the requirements for FLOF and YOF? And what are some projects that can be done under FLOF or YOF? So I'm gonna more so speak towards the Florida Opportunity Fund because I know the Youth Opportunity Fund has different requirements that you can access online. So in regard to the Florida Opportunity Fund, there's mainly a couple of different requirements. Number one, your club does need to pay dues. You need to be in good standing. You need to be a Key Club registered, a registered club under the Florida District. The second thing is that you need to make sure that you have 1/3 of the funds that you're asking for. So stemming off of that, the Florida Opportunity Fund gives from $100 to $1,000 in service grants. So meaning if you want to raise $200 if let's say your service project is $300, if you have $100, then Florida Key Club will supplement the rest of the $200. There's many different procedures, which means including downloading the application, emailing that in, submitting part 1 to the treasurer, and submitting part 2 to your lieutenant governor, and withholding all of your receipts. Make sure that you do visit the Key Club Instagram and our website on all those requirements, because all those requirements are outlined in written form. in regard to applying for FLOF. But really do use FLOF at your at your disposal. We really do want to provide grants and service money towards your projects. Examples of projects that can be done under FLOF or YOF. I'm more so, basically any service project can, qualify for FLOF, but to clarify, especially given this COVID-19 situation, if you want to host a book drive, or if you want to have a a food drive, you can apply for FLOF so that we can supplement funding for that. One example is a dictionary project that was done at Gulf Coast Community High School, where they bought a bunch of dictionaries and they gave it to elementary schoolers. Another one could be buying masks and giving it to underprivileged communities, or maybe a local preschool. There are many different ways that projects could qualify under FLOF. Now, if you're thinking, can decon go under FLOF? Of course not, because decon is more so of a district convention, and we want to make sure that FLOF is accounting for your individual club service projects. So I hope that answered your question. And of course, a lot of the requirements, a lot of the details about FLOF can be found on our website at floridakeyclub.org/FLOF. Great question. So what are some organizations that my Key Club can donate to? So there's many different organizations that you can donate to, and that is also outlined on our website. But some organizations that you can donate to is the Eliminate Project, UNICEF, the Thirst Project, March of Dimes. These are more so a lot of the major emphasis organizations that are under that umbrella. You can also donate towards the endowment fund. More donations to the endowment fund would really reflect upon you in giving, increasing the amount of scholarships we have for your college funding. But of course, that's a great question, and those organizations can also be found on floridakeyclub.org. But yeah, I hope that also answered your question as well. Someone asked, this is more so a question that's tailored towards your own club, but someone asked, my club is not allowed to fundraise due to our school's policy on students handling money. How would this affect our budget? Would having the dues fees to the minimum of $13 be acceptable because of this issue? So just to clarify in regards to the budget is something that you plan for throughout the whole year. But that being said, when you make a plan, not everything could fall into plan, but the budget will basically serve as kind of motivation or a guideline for what you want to accomplish throughout the whole year, and how you want to make sure that your funds are balanced, and that you're not at a loss, and at a balance or over profit. So in regard to your specific question about how your club is not allowed to fundraise, definitely, I'm aware, and the whole Florida district is aware, that many different schools and clubs are facing obstacles in terms of how clubs are going about in their schools. I know there's some schools that can't even do clubs at all, but that question is very specific to your school. And my biggest recommendation is that you coordinate with your school bookkeeper and your financial administrator in regard to, how you can fundraise. And of course, with different questions and different conflicts that you're having with your specific clubs, please feel free to email me, and, I can have that personal conversation with you over email on, what are some solutions that you can, that we can come up with to make sure that your club is successful when it comes to dues and just overall service projects. But I hope that answered your question, especially in terms of the budget. Really, the budget is something that you plan for throughout the whole year, and you use that to kind of make sure that you're on top of yourself. If I didn't answer that question on a more elaborate basis, feel free to ask another question for clarification. Any more questions, everyone? By the way, if any of you guys have your hand raised, just know that there's no option for you to unmute your mic or open your camera. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A option. So I just want to give a last call. Is there any questions you may have? Are there any questions that are in your mind? All right, seeing no more questions, I just want to say thank you for taking your time out of your precious weekend to join me today and making sure that why are you so amazing? I'm amazing because you all are amazing. You guys are all amazing for, being a part of Key Club and taking time out of your day for, making sure that you provide service to your communities, especially during COVID-19. But, I just wanted to say that, thank you all for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope this workshop itself gave you a lot of perspective on how you can be a successful treasurer this year. And again, this presentation will be available to you, and this recording will also be available to you. But other than that, please feel free to email me. My contact information is right here. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions. I know a lot of you guys raised questions in regard to your own conflicts with your school, and I'm more than happy to figure out something. But definitely, I hope you all have an amazing weekend. And of course, please contact please contact us if you have any questions. Thank you all, everyone. And thank you for everyone for all the comments in the chat.